I know some of you might not be familiar with lab exams, so I wanted to go over their format and also some tips on preparing for them. So your exam will be at your regular lab time in your regular lab room in the last full week of classes. You will take both a practical exam and a Scantron exam. You will begin with a practical exam. Your instructor might be setting up, so the door will be closed until the instructor has everything set up and is ready for you. When they open the door, you'll store all your stuff except your pencil, eraser, and calculator, and you will stand in front of one lab spot. At each spot, there will be a question, and you will have an answer sheet that you take from question to question with you. There will be 12 questions in total, so questions 1 through 12 on the right side of the room, and those same 1 through 12 questions on the left side of the room. You will get 5 minutes at each question to complete it, so it should take about an hour to go through the whole practical exam. There will be a timer up on the board timing out 5 minutes, so you'll always know how much time you have remaining, and everyone will move on to the next question at the same time. If you're at question 3, you'll then go on to question 4 until you've completed all 12. In terms of what we can ask at the questions, some of them will be hands-on. We might ask you to pipette something or plate something, label something, all the techniques that you've been doing throughout the semester. So you might turn in a plate or a tube, or your instructor might observe you doing a technique. So there will be some hands-on questions. There will also be some short answer questions where we might give you a data set, for example, and ask you to graph it or interpret it, draw conclusions from it. We might give you a research question and ask you to design an experiment. We might give you an experiment and ask you to identify some potential issues with it. So some short answer questions as well. When you complete the practical exam, there will be about a 5-minute break where you can run to the bathroom, grab a bite to eat, decompress for a minute. And then when you come back, you'll take a Scantron exam, which is a straightforward multiple choice exam, 20 questions. We give you a generous hour to complete it. Most people are done within half an hour. Whenever you do finish it, within that hour, you're free to quietly pack up and take off. So we don't expect you to be in lab for the full 3 hours for that exam period. When you come to the exams, be sure you are dressed in lab appropriate attire with long pants and closed-toed shoes. We can't let you into the lab rooms if you are not dressed appropriately for safety reasons. Even though we know you won't actually be doing any techniques, you're not supposed to enter a lab if you're not dressed appropriately. So make sure you are dressed appropriately so you don't miss out on any of your exams. Bring a pencil, an eraser, and a calculator. Phones cannot be used as calculators. In terms of preparing for the exams, I recommend that you review the semester in terms of what were the projects that we did. For each of those projects, what techniques did you need to do for those projects, and why did we do those techniques? How do they work? And think about all of those learning objectives. We went through a bunch of learning objectives. They're listed at the start of each PowerPoint slide. And there were a bunch of learning objective documents that you can also review. There's a bunch of resources that I recommend you can go through if you're not feeling comfortable with any of the concepts, techniques, or projects. So for every lab period, there's a PowerPoint. If you open it in PowerPoint, you will see that slides have notes written on them. These are my notes to instructors for what they should be discussing or the main purpose of each slide. So those can be really helpful for you to review and remind yourself of what you've learned in the labs. And they also have the learning objectives listed at the start of the PowerPoints, as well as an outline of the lab, which might also trigger your memory of what techniques you were doing. Go through those learning objective documents. They're the ones that have an LO in their title. Go back through your lab notebook, remind yourself of techniques and what you did. Your purpose statements can help remind you of the purpose of each experiment. Go through your worksheets, make sure that you'd be able to complete those on your own if you needed to. They're all posted on Canvas, so you can pull them up, look at the questions, make sure you feel comfortable answering them without your lab partners present. There's online videos that can be really helpful for reviewing the techniques. You can also go through homeworks, and again, make sure that you'd be comfortable completing them if you had to redo them. There are the quizzes that you took, and also sort of a repository of old quizzes that are posted under resources on Canvas. And there are practical questions, so you can get a sense for what types of questions can be asked on the practical and if you feel ready for them. You can also, I recommend studying with your lab partners if possible. quiz yourselves on, what's an independent variable, give yourself practice questions, talk about what was the purpose of this experiment, why did we do that, how did we analyze that data. So use them as a resource. You also have your TA, your lab instructor, and myself. So if anything's not clear, if you're not feeling good about anything, you can talk to us. You can schedule time with us if possible to come in and practice techniques if you need, or come meet with us to go over any concepts that you might want clarification on. And my main thing is try not to freak out, relax. It's a different format for exams than what you're used to, but we're really just asking you to do the same things that you've been working on all semester.